They're telling me times got hard, stuff got rough. They're telling me there's some kind of disease going on, something about a light beer. I'm not exactly sure where they're going with it. Not precisely important. What is important is that the pre-apocalypse is upon us, I believe. So what we need to do is we need to prepare. They say the best offense is a good defense, so we're going to build ourselves a shield today. It's going to be great. We'll go over some design choices, I'll run a recap through it, use mostly hand tools to get this thing built because here in the post-apocalypse, as we know, there will be no electricity. And speaking of the post-apocalypse, I'm looking for a new position right now. I would like to be the warlord for a small to medium-sized motorcycle gang that's going to end up conquering a significant majority of the Midwest. If you know any motorcycle gangs that may fit this description here in the post-apocalyptic world, let me know. I'll drop my CV into their inbox. As usual, let's get after it. Okay, here's our piece of wood we'll be working with for the primary body of the shield. We actually want these lengthwise because we expect any blows to hit this shield to come from top to bottom. We want them to have to shear through this material, which is going to be much more difficult than coming from the end, because if you come from the end, you might be able to split. We're also going to do a little bit of fancy joinery and lapping these joints over one another, because that'll just give us more rigid structure. It'll spread the force of the blows a little bit further out than previously. Now, this is just, what is this, like a 1x6 piece of pine? That's fine. My first piece is going to be of a specific width. What this width is, I'm not going to measure, but I'm saying my torso is about this wide, so I'm going to make the cut at about actually where this triangle is. We're going to actually do this in a bit of a heater style. So we'll layer several of these on top of one another. How did that mark not even... I need to sharpen my pencil. This pencil doesn't even have a lid. Microplane's quite useful. There's a marker. I think this is about where my line was. All right, let's cut that out and get this piece into as many of these as we can get. Alright, reason we're lapping this is because I have a new tool to do this with very well. This is a rabbit plane. It creates rabbits. Run along the side, those shavings will come up. It should build a perfect shoulder for us. Let's run it across. I haven't done a lot to this. All I've done is adjusted it. I've got the depth stop set so that it's exactly half the width of this board. Exactly. I actually used one of them measuring ruler sticks, what gives numbers, which you know I don't like that, but I want to get this one right. This is the first time I'm playing with it. Also got this depth gauge to an arbitrary distance, which is approximately, oh goodness, the same as the depth stop. This is going to determine how wide this shoulder is. I did hone out just this iron on this plane, and this should rock out pretty well. Let's get that last bit tightened and roll with it. There it is. Perfect shoulder right there, exactly half the depth of it. I didn't quite do that precisely correct because I'm still learning this tool, but it's close enough. It's good. It'll work. I did spend a lot of time clearing chips out of this because I don't quite know what the hell I'm doing yet, but that'll come with time. I'm gonna get some more chips out of there right now. All right, I'm gonna take this opportunity to start labeling these pieces. There's a pencil, already has that. This is the top. This is also the back. That's what face this is, that's what piece this is. All right, now do this a handful more times. We've moved down here to the floor because we just need to finish laying this out and make sure we have enough of the right lumber. I've got almost all of the rabbets planed in there. Now I'm just gonna lay out the basic shape. I'm just gonna use a 45 down here at the bottom. It's not gonna be super pretty because it's just a 45, but it'll still look nice. It'll still work perfectly fine. So I'm gonna draft this out in a super reasonable way. I'm going to set this here. We can use that just to run this all the way across this line here. Okay, now you see this conundrum we're at right here. Can't quite use that. All I'm going to do, set my angle gauge here to precisely 45 degrees. Let's tighten that up. And that problem is no longer a problem. Let's get it to where it needs to be. Right here at that angle. Get that there. And follow it through. Now the reason I did this a little bit in advance is because I knew I wasn't going to have quite enough for this little tip here. So I've got to cut a piece off, make sure that's rabbited correctly so that we can actually complete this. Getting better with that thing. All right. All right, there's our final piece. Let's get this glued up. When she's glued up, we will be good to plane this surface flat. Neato. All right, now that she's jigged up here in lumber, just getting her dried out, definitely just gonna wait for it to dry. Before it's completely dry, I will undo this jig and I'll flatten this out with the plane. Because this is the back, I'll actually do it on the front side. I'll just use the bench plane across the grain, and then I'll come over it and actually sand it. We're gonna get a real nice finish on this. I'm at the point where I want to get this held together more permanently. This glue is still drying a bit. I did get it flattened out, that's good. So what I'm actually going to do now is start tacking on my outer pieces. This one is the one I'm going to start with. I'll be able to miter most of these in place. The first two I want to get are going to be the sides, just so everything is held together with a secondary structure. I've got some really cute white little nails that are going to be a beautiful accent to this piece. Let's throw those on there. All right, it's been a full day. I've let the glue dry. I was having troubles with it. I also put these backers on just to hold it together a little bit better. Let's keep going forward. Now I'm just gonna mark out the center point. When I have the center point marked out, I'll find the final angle for these two, and we'll show you how we get there when we get there. It's a fun little bit of geometry without measuring. Here's the current state of affairs for our baby. The top's already collecting a bit of dust. I am gonna have to figure out a way. Now I'm just gonna hit that up with the orbital sander. That'll be fine. But before then, need to get 2 more rim bits on there. I wanna get those mitered on. Don't know what angle this is set to, but I thought it looked pretty. This is not gonna be a perfectly structurally fantastic joint, but it will be really neat looking. It'll give everything a sort of downwards angle, and that angle is just gonna be nice. Oh, nails in our way. Eek. These aren't quite as even as I thought they were gonna be. Yeah, it's no big deal. Let's get these sawed out. All right, got this laid out. You've already seen me use this technique twice in this project, but I'm gonna go over it again and explain it a bit. What we're about to do is called kerfing in. You can see, I'm just gonna mark that because I'm gonna make a cut that way eventually. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna use the width of the saw to actually make these 2 angles the same. It'll get them to butt properly. It's really useful when you're doing really weird angles like this. So let's get this kerfed out. Let me show you real quick. All right, now you can see there, I have a gap that's exactly the width of that saw, which is awesome because it's taken an uneven amount from both of these pieces. Because it took an uneven amount from both of these pieces, this angle should be closing in. See, that joint's already a ton better than when I started. I think on this one I'm only gonna have to do it once, maybe. Yeah, I think I'm only gonna have to do it one more time. Then I have a perfect joint right here. That is a beautiful joint. So let's mark our next couple of cuts real quick. All right, I hit it up with that rough shape. That's absolutely gorgeous. Let's tack this in place, make our last one, and then we can start to do our finishing.
last little piece there, that fits in quite beautifully. Let's get that tacked on and get to our final rounds of shaping. Here's a support brace I just got done. It's pretty nice, fits in there really quite well. Let's get that tacked in too. Not using hand tools for this. Just finished getting all these edges aligned good and tight. I did come through with the block plane, shave off the corners and make them round. I'm going to come through, I'm going to re-round this front side, and I didn't round the back, so I'm going to come back and hit that back again too. Because she's a tool, boy, linseed oil. Got her finish on her. She's looking quite sexy, I do say. Now we're just gonna let this dry. After it's dried, I'll worry about the handle, and then we'll worry about some wall hangers.
Alright folks, she's built all the way up. It's pretty exciting. This was a fun little exercise. This is definitely a project I'd like to revisit in the future. I can do a lot of this joinery and structural work a lot better. There's probably a lot of sneaky tricks I can do on this just to make it a lot nicer. It's quite sturdy, as you'll see in a minute here. But because this episode's been dragging on way too long, I did go back and finish it up. This is just an old pair of pants, rolled up, stapled on there, handle just carved out of wood. I've got just a post to get my tie down, and I've got a U-shaped block right here. I can wedge in, it tightens up this string. This string isn't gonna go nowhere. But now that we've got it built up, you fight like you train, and you train like you fight. Let's see what you can do. Punch it.